Hello, and welcome to Ephemera. I'm fantasy author KT Brisky.
And I'm editor Jen R. Albert. We hope you are enjoying our theme music courtesy of Alex White. Welcome to anyone joining us for the first time, and welcome back to those of you who have visited our virtual home before. For those of you who are new, Ephemera is an award-nominated reading series chaired by KT and myself.
Pre-COVID, we held events in the Glad Day Bookshop. While we cannot wait for our triumphant return, we are pleased to have fantastic adventures with you on YouTube. And we would like to begin tonight by acknowledging that the land on which Jen and I live and work is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. This land is covered under Treaty 13 and is part of the Dish with One Spoon. So when I say the word adventure, what do you think of? What do you see? What narratives come to mind? What's your immediate knee-jerk reaction? For myself, being completely honest and examining the parts of myself that are uncomfortable to look at, there is an internalized settler narrative to confront and to challenge, a singular hero going forth into parts unknown. It's a narrative with roots in colonialism and violence against Indigenous peoples in the land. If that was your reflex too, hey, I see you. But knowing this, we can change it and disrupt it. What do we frame as adventure? Which adventures do settlers silence, downplay, exclude? To use an example local to the land that I'm on, not far from where I sit tonight, the Toronto Carrying Place Trail ran from the lakeshore northward to Georgian Bay, well over 160 kilometers, and used for more than 1,000 years. Look, many of us are here tonight because we like science fiction and fantasy. And again, which adventures does publishing silence, downplay, exclude? Yes, representation matters, but there's even more work to do. There are power structures in our own community and industry well overdue for change. Adventure often means moving away from the uncomfortable, or rather means moving away from the comfortable and familiar. While you listen to tonight's fiction, and after tonight's event ends, I urge you to do the same. White friends in particular, the uncomfortable feeling when you run up against your privilege and biases, at guilt and shame, push past, doing the work yourself and not adding further to colonial harms, and see what concrete, disruptive change you can make to your life, your perceptions, and your community. Thank you.
A reminder to everyone that our code of conduct is posted online. If this is your first event, please check it out on Twitter or Facebook. If you're so inclined, you can still feed Fred the physically distanced donation dragon. You can find a link to our Ko-fi at the top of our channel near our banner, on our Twitter or on our Facebook page for tonight's event. It's ko-fi.com/ephemera reading series.
Jen!
What?
How's it going?
Okay, I guess. Just, tired of being stuck inside. I get my fresh air, but everything feels very samey at this point. I could use an adventure, actually.
Well, it's funny you say that, because guess what I found?
What?
It's a map. Look, it's a little more burnt than I anticipated it being, but I think we can follow it to adventure.
Wow, that does sound very exciting and thematically apt. Is that writing on the back? What does it say?
I'll get Prancy to decipher it while our first reader takes the stage.
Sounds like a plan. I'm very pleased to introduce our first reader, Darcie Little Badger. Darcie Little Badger is a Lipan Apache writer with a PhD in oceanography. Her critically acclaimed debut novel, Alatsoe, was featured in Time magazine as one of the best 100 fantasy novels of all time. Incredibly impressive. And her second novel, A Snake Falls to Earth, is coming in 2021. Darcie's short fiction, nonfiction, and comics have appeared in multiple places, including Marvel's Voices, Indigenous Voices 1, Nightmare Magazine, Strange Horizons, and The Dark. She is currently engaged to a veterinarian named T. Darcie?
Hey, thank you everyone for having me in this like magical event. I was dancing to the music in the intro. I don't think anyone could see me do it, but it was just really great. And yeah, so when I received the theme of this reading session, I really thought, which of my short stories kind of exemplifies the theme of adventure to me? And the first thing that popped into my head was Nele, which is a story about 40 Chihuahuas, a husky, and love in space. And I think that the biggest adventure for me here, it's not the Chihuahuas, even though they're pretty cool, but it's this kind of process of falling in love. So I'm going to read as much as I can within 10 minutes, but it is online. So you know what, if you want to hear how it ends and I don't get to the end, I'll just send a link along and y'all can check it out. And before I begin, Nele is actually the Lipan Apache word for a dog. So I think that's the only instance of Lipan you're going to hear in here, but I just loved naming it that with an exclamation point. All right. Nele. Enamored with promises of red Martian canyons and a hefty pay raise, I ignored the scary parts about leaving Earth until I actually had to board a starship. There's nothing too risky about interplanetary space travel. In fact, it's rather mundane. Passengers relax in stasis for 9 months. I just hate speed. Won't ride a roller coaster, won't bungee jump, won't even hop off a diving board. No drop can outrace the ascent out of Earth, though. Security wasn't making things easier. The pre-boarding screener found my pills. What's this, he asked, plucking a rattling tin from my jacket. Those? It's abenazine. He squinted, probably skimming a list of drug names on his ocular screen. Sorry, he said, how do you spell that? ACEBEN, zine. It's for dogs, often prescribed to reduce anxiety before routine checkups or grooming sessions. Are you smuggling a toy poodle in your jacket too? He asked. Abenazine is effective on humans. Trust me, I'm a doctor. He squinted again. Passenger registration says you're a veterinarian. Yes, animal doctor. Okay, Dottie King, DMV. You'll be unconscious during launch and won't feel a thing. Not necessarily, I said. 1 in 10,000 people experience unintended intrastasis awareness during the 6-hour acclimation period after. We can offer you human sedatives. He dropped my tin in a contraband chute and handed me a mint-sized pill. Much obliged, I said, swallowing the medicine, proceeded to my stasis pod. Tragically, it resembled a technophile coffin. An attendant secured my limbs, applied biomonitor stickers, and snapped the lid shut, her face scowling through my porthole. It did not take long for the other passengers to settle in. The Starship Soto is first and foremost a cargo carrier. This trip, which carried 30 Earth immigrants and 41 dogs to Mars, was probably more crowded with life forms than all of its predecessors. Not a tremendously comforting thought. Was the crew sufficiently trained? If something went wrong, would they know how to rescue 30 land-born civilians? More importantly, why wasn't the sedative working? Everybody ready? Chirped the speaker near my ear. Stasis initiation. 10, 9, 8. I know what you're thinking. It's safer to visit Mars than the grocery store. However, mid-flight disasters, albeit rare, are a special breed of terrifying. If Starship Soto exploded between Earth and Mars, I'd go gentle into the interstellar vacuum, my body and mind slipping from stasis to death. Helpless, thoughtless, at least during a highway fender bender, There's a chance to react, even if the only reaction is a passionately uttered shh. 6. I tried to focus on pleasant memory, our chickens, a lamb, a rooster crowing, the desert warm beneath my feet, mother's sweet tea, father singing in the kitchen, our collie herding sheep, family surname King painted across a tin mailbox, a coyote, his muzzle wet and red, a needle and thread. 3, wait, mail, damn. 2, I forgot to set up my forwarding address. 1, shh. Shucks. Stasis pod spiritualism ain't what it used to be. And its tight SPF churches appeared in every major city, on and off Earth. Their leaders preached, the sleep is sacred, encounter long dead relatives, witness blinding white light, heaven and hell, hear prophecies, threats, and undying voices. All praise the pod. Of course, SP experiences are caused by altered brain activity during the stasis wake-up phase. One scientist replicated the miraculous hallucinations with electrodes. SPS interest dropped. It was all over the news. Despite that, I nearly praised the pod as they regained consciousness on Starship Soto. Through the porthole, I saw silhouettes. My parents standing against the brighter than sunlight. Mom and dad were born before nanite revolution, when itty-bitty wonderbots surged through our bodies to elongate telomeres, degrade cancers, repair DNA, and accelerate healing. In other words, my parents aged, died. The silhouettes wavered. I tried to reach for them, but out-of-body hallucinations don't come with hands. The light intensified and its radiance drank their bodies. Does it always take this long? 10 to 60 minutes. This is an emergency. Throw water on her face. Horrible idea, Cora. Look, she's scowling. Are her eyes open? Bother me when that happens. A face peered through dimming light. Brown black hair in a tight bun. Black eyes under thick, serious-looking eyebrows. Mouth pursed with watching a pot boil concentration. Skin a warm ochre brown, adult-aged. Could be anywhere from 30 to 100 years old. Either ghosts resembled Starship pilots or I wasn't actually dead. Are you awake? Cora asked, working on it. My voice cracked twice. I hadn't felt so thirsty since the water crisis of '09. She's awake, can I take her? My pod was open, my restraints unlatched. None of the other passengers had been roused from stasis. The only person there besides Cora was a peeved-looking man with a virtual reality headset around his neck. Wait, he said, I'm checking vitals. Get her water and explain the situation. Sorry, Cora said, bounding to a water dispenser across the room. Dr. Dottie King, we're still 5 months away from Mars, and the dang puppy stasis pods malfunctioned, so we got 41 dogs barking to high Pluto, and Pete, he's the engineer, can't get things working again. So, are the dogs okay? I climbed out of the pod. Cora put a steadying hand on my arm and handed me a water bottle. I chugged the entire half-liter. Probably, she said, but you should double check. And, well, we don't know what to do. There are supplies in cargo, kibble cubes, beds, kennels, squeaky little toys. This operation is one bad choice away from chaos. Vitals check out, the man said. You're clear to leave. I delicately removed Cora's hand as we walked out the door. What's the staff situation, I asked. How many people can help? Skeleton crew, Doc, just my co-pilot, Lashana, Pete, and our stasis monitor, Viquel. You just met him. Can we recruit other passengers? If I recall, there are several sleeping veterinarians and med techs on board. Theoretically, but resources are tight, and that includes space. And humans take priority. So the dogs will suffer if too many people wake up. Right, speaking of suffering, liquids have to be recycled. How quickly can you potty train 41 dogs? You're kidding, I said. Don't worry, Pete and I will assist. Unfortunately, Vic can't be distracted. It's too much of a liability. VR isn't distracting, I asked. You noticed, huh? She threw up her shoulders. The movement was more passionate than a mere shrug. Blame bureaucracy. No worries, I'll do the work of 2 people. I somehow believe you, I said. We turned a corner. The passage terminated at a sealed door. A thin, densely freckled man leaned against its hand wheel. The fine creases around his mouth deepened with anxiety. Pete, Cora said, I told you to wait inside Animal Bay. What gives? It's too much, he said. Woman, the last 5 minutes have made me a cat person. He turned the wheel. As the door cracked, a flood of yaps and whines swept into the corridor. The egg-shaped doggy stasis pods had opened, exposing 40 wiggling chihuahuas and a blue-eyed husky, his irises like glacial ice. The husky keened. They're a chatty breed, prone to howling, barking, and shrill vocalizations that mean everything from pay attention to me to I said pay attention to me, damn it. Move kennels in here, I said. Cleaning and caring will be a full-time job. Remember that dogs like routines. Playtime can happen in shifts of 20 animals. I'm going to unpack supplies from storage, Pete said. Good luck, Cora. Don't forget water dispensers, I called after him. Also remember my medical supplies. Thanks. Hey, Pete, can you hear me? From the corridor, he shouted, got it. Cora, I asked. Roger, Doc. Who ordered a husky for the Margin settlement? What's wrong with huskies, she asked. They're an energetic breed. I don't know who bought him, but they paid handsomely. He's worth more than all 40 chihuahuas. With that money, I could purchase a house in a decent part of town. What town, I asked. Cora had an accent I couldn't place. It was probably from off Earth, orbiting cities, one foot in their founding nations and the other on the starry frontier, and a knack for cultivating unique phonologies. Any of them, she said. I'm not picky. Right, well, until we land, Blue Eyes will be your responsibility. Keep him close. No, Doc, she said, I'll get attached and then be really sad when we land. Your choice, 1 big dogs or 40 teeny ones. Husky it is. What should I name him? All mine will be Nele, I said, dog. I prefer Conan. Here, boy. She unstrapped Conan, lowered him to the ground. With a shrill yawn-whine combo, he effectually leaned against Cora's legs. Suits him, I said. Time for routine checkup. Sick bay? Right this way. And that looks like 10 minutes, but things take a scary turn when Conan has a health crisis. So be sure to read the rest. Thank you so much for letting me read a bit of Nele for you today.
Thank you so much. First of all, I think every adventure is better with dogs. So thank you for sending us on a great adventure to start. And also that is a heck of a cliffhanger. So we've posted links to the rest of the story in the chat and on Twitter. So do go check it out. Over to you, Jen.
Hi. How's that deciphering going?
Prancy has done a fantastic job. It seems to be a riddle, but the last word is missing.
That's okay. Maybe we can figure it out. Read what he's got.
Okay, so far Prancy's got, you long to see another place, how wonderful a notion, adventure forth, go on your way, across the wide, deep. And that's the rest, that's all. How are we supposed to know what the last word could possibly be?
You know, our audience is really smart if they drop it in the chat right now.
Like across right now, this minute.
Wide, deep. I don't know.
Pretty tricky.
There's also a chat lag, so.
Oh no.
Second.
Also, if you're yelling ineffectually at your screen right now, we totally hear it.
Doesn't work.
I hear it.
Work. Any of our guests?
Oh my God, I think I hear something from Guinness. He says it's ocean.
Oh, of course.
The cat
of course.
had it.
Okay. But if we're having a seafaring adventure, we're going to need to build a boat. Oh, there it comes. We're more behind than I thought.
Good to
Wherever
know.
you are, see what materials you have close at hand. Tape, pillows, whatever. Just type your contribution in chat or respond on Twitter, and we will see what we come up with.
I'm sure we'll have a fantastic boat that's made of many things. And now I'd like to introduce our performer. Lynn Sargent is a writer, aerialist, and philosophy PhD candidate currently studying at the University of Waterloo. Their work has been nominated for Riesling and Aurora Awards and has appeared in venues such as Augur Magazine, Strange Horizons, and Daily Science Fiction. Their first collection, A Refuge of Tales, is out now from Renaissance Press. To find out more, reach out to them on Twitter @SamLynnS, or for more magical circus tricks, you can follow them on Instagram @Lynne Sargent. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. So I'm so delighted to be here. Ephemera has been a great adventure for me, through the last time that we've been having. And so when they invited me to be here, I was very excited. So as a science fiction and fantasy loving person, I've been a lifelong fan. Obviously, I always wanted to learn how to fly. This is a reasonable desire, I think, for people to have. And then I had the opportunity to learn how to do it. And so I think that you guys are going to see a piece with like a little introduction, a little bit of storytelling, and then we're going to go on a flying adventure together. And I hope you enjoy it.
Florabella is a fairy who is hatched from a flower on Plantington III. Seeing the vastness of the worlds that Plantington holds, she leaves her flower home to go exploring in his branches. Taking rests as she needs to, Florabella learns to climb, fly, and wonder.
Yeah, that
Adventure
was lovely.
Definitely the right one for your performance. That was incredible.
And I love the call out to your friend and mine, Plantington the Third. That was delightful. Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you.
Actually, yeah, it was really cool. I love storytelling through movement and silk and music. Like, that was really cool. I'm just finding my spot. Okay, what sort of materials have we collected for our boat?
I will have to scroll up from the many, many comments and compliments for Lynn. So, from the chat, we have a tatami mat, curtains, a mini fridge, and wine. Cozy boat.
I mean, all very important. I mean, I've got some duct tape, and we also have a collection of string-based cat toys, and some Sharpies, and I don't have curtains, but I have window blinds.
Don't have curtains either. I have a bunch of lampshades.
I think this is sufficient. I think this is sufficient to make a boat.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Because we all made it together.
Okay, so I've been going through Pansy's notes here. The route isn't exactly clear. We can plot a course through the Siren Shallows, try to sail over Kraken Chasm, or we can engage the warp drive and sail into the void of space. I
mean, they all sound like good options. So where should we go, team? Siren Shallows, Kraken Chasm, or the void of space? You can vote on Twitter or in the chat.
Well, on to our next reader then. I'm pleased to introduce Sylvain Neuvel. Sylvain Nouvelle has taught linguistics in India and worked as a software engineer in Montreal. He is also a certified translator, though he wishes he were an astronaut. His girlfriend would have him believe that he has too many toys, so he writes about aliens and giant robots as a blatant excuse to build action figures for his son, of course. His debut, Sleeping Giants, was described by NPR as one of the most promising series kickoffs in recent memory. Sylvain?
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me. And I vote for the void of space, by the way. I got my first shot today. So I'm a little tired because my body is fighting totally harmless COVID-looking proteins that my own cells produced because a genetically hacked chimpanzee virus told them to. Now that's science fiction. I'm going to read from something a lot more believable than that, called The History of What Comes Next. And I'm going to read from chapter 1. The book is about, or the whole series is about, these 100 generations of really badass mother and daughter pairs, all genetically identical, messing with our history for the past 3,000 years. And this book takes place at the end of the Second World War. So a bit of a content warning. Nothing really bad happens, but there's some swear words, and there's mention of death, concentration camps, more death, and things you'd associate with war. The chapter is called Sentimental Journey, which is also a song by Les Brown and Doris Day, because each chapter title in the book is also a song title from the years the story takes place in. And you can find the playlist that you can read the book with on Spotify and Apple Music by searching for Take 'Em to the Stars #1 or going to my website, nouvelle.net, and then you'll find everything. So, see if I can keep this under 10 minutes. If not, you can cut me off and I can go for another minute on my own. 1945. What's a little girl like you doing so close to the front lines? That's what he said, in German, of course. It's a very good question, though little girl's a bit of a stretch. I'm 19, not 5. We did always look younger than our age. Anyway, I think a better question is why I walked up to the SS instead of just sneaking in. It seemed like a good idea not 5 minutes ago. Relax, Mia. This is going to work. Needless to say, I didn't want to come. It's 1945 and it's fucking World War II. Pardon the language, I've been hanging out with American GIs for a month. Still, I was 7 years old when I left Germany. I never dreamed I'd see it again. I don't remember much, but I guess I hoped being here would feel, I don't know, special. Childhood memories, familiar smells, anything really. They flew me into France with US soldiers from the 21st Corps, a bunch of rude loudmouths, swearing and spitting everywhere. I liked them the minute I saw them. They snuck me into Germany through a non-manned gap in the Siegfried Line. I walked a dozen miles through farmland before I found a German farmer willing to drive me to the nearest town deserving of a train station. From there, I spent, I don't know exactly, what felt like a decade on a near-empty train making my way northeast. I slept through Brennen and Hamburg. The Allies pummeled Hamburg to dust. I didn't want to see it. Not the crumbled buildings, not the shattered lives, certainly not the dead. I've seen the war in black and white. 50,000 civilians burned alive is not something I need in living color. I stayed awake for barley and beets and barley, and the endless sound of train tracks, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. I watched people come in and out, little vignettes of human resilience, children in soldiers' uniforms hovering between tears and laughter, haggard nurses leaving one hell for another, a man and his boy fleeing the night raids. Like most, they don't speak, except for the occasional, "Put your head down, son," when gray raincoats and jackboots flood the aisles. Ordinary people in extraordinary times. We all stare at the yellow fields, pretending none of this is real. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack. We crossed a small bridge near Rostock. There was a body floating in the river below. A woman. She was drifting face down, her red polka dot dress bulging with hair. She could have been anyone, 16 or 60. All I know is she was dead, and no one seemed to notice her but me. I kept waiting for someone to see her. They didn't. I stared for as long as I could. I twisted my neck backwards, hugging the window until she vanished behind us. I had to see her. I don't know why. I couldn't let her just not matter like that. The man and his boy got off at the last station. An hour later, I was here, Peenemünde Army Research Center, where Wernher von Braun is building the V2 rocket. It's a city, was a city. Airport, power plant, miles and miles of train tracks. 12,000 people lived here, I think, before the Brits bombed the shit out of it. The factories are gone now, so are the slave workers. All that's left are the scientists. A few thousand brains in a town too big for them. This place gave up a long time ago. The main building sits alone, as if they forgot to build the world around it. It's ugly, functional, as nondescript as it gets. The walls don't bother to hide their scars anymore. Burnt bricks, boarded windows, empty streets, and rundown structures. Whoever kept things up around here is either dead or gone. Even the grass knows it lost the war. Everything here smells, I don't know what it smells like. Musty? Sad, mostly. I shouldn't be here. I miss my home, my bed. I miss Mother. She said I had to come. It has to be done, Mia. I understand. It was her work that enabled them all, including Wernher von Braun, the man I'm here for. 100 lifetimes had led us to Berlin. Our work, our legacy was here, spread around the minds of thousands. Willingly or not, they were all working for the devil now, using the knowledge we gave them. Soon Germany would lose and all that knowledge would be gone. We can't have that. Preserve the knowledge. That's the rule. Mother said that's all she cares about, but I know she can't stand Hitler using us that way. I just wish she'd come herself. Hitler should have had von Braun executed 6 months ago. They've already lost. They just don't know it yet. Everyone else is playing another game, fighting for the spoils. To the victors, they say. Well, the victors will pillage this country. They'll pluck it clean like vultures. The only question now is who gets the meteor parts. The Americans really want von Braun, but the one thing they want even more is to make sure no one else gets him. That's why they sent me. I'm 19 and I'm supposed to shoot a German rocket scientist if they can't get their hands on him before the Russians do. I say shoot, but I'm sure they'd be fine with strangle, drown, tickle to death. Still, man sent me, so I know they had a gun in mind. These are the same folks who think a woman's place is in the kitchen, either there or in a German compound. Go figure. Mother set it all up. She works as a mathematician for the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services. There's nothing particularly strategic about them. Mother had the right resume, she made sure of that, but these people will recruit just about anyone. They hired a player from the Red Sox. Yeah, the Boston fucking Red Sox, to pose as a Swiss physics student. And I love this part, kill Germany's top nuclear scientist if it looked like they were close to building an atomic weapon. They hired Julia Child, the chef. They'll also send someone's daughter behind enemy lines without thinking twice, apparently. They call it Operation Paperclip. I don't know why they call it that. I didn't ask. Mother said I had to come, so I did. Here I am, 5 months later, making puppy eyes at the SS. That's literally what the OSS asked me to do. They use those words. Look pretty and make puppy eyes if you get in trouble. I think I am. I messed up. I told them I was Wernher von Braun's niece, Lily. That's what I said. I said niece. I was supposed to say cousin. I'm so scared I should be glad I managed to say anything. Niece is bad, though. A cousin is vague enough. Everyone has cousins they've never met. Niece? He'll say, what niece? I don't have a niece named Lily. Even if he's curious enough to play along, the SS will know something's up just by the look on his face. Stop thinking, Mia. What's done is done. Puppy eyes. It almost sounded easy the way Mother put it. Von Braun will understand. He's a smart man and he's a scientist. He only cares about the work, Mia, not who he does it for. I hope so, because our plan, or the one where I come out of this alive, sort of hinges on that man's survival instincts. I just wish I know why I came. I can see it from here. The steel tower, the high slope sand wall, that's test stand number 7. Von Braun's V2 launched from here and became the first human-made object to make it to space. Right over there, October 3rd, 1942. I am standing here, legs shaking, in the cradle of spaceflight. This is a place of science, home to one of mankind's greatest achievements. Wernher von Braun perfected that rocket on the top floor of the building behind me. That's what Mother wants me to see. She wants me to see the top floor, not the empty concentration camp in the basement. There's a concrete footway going from this building to the next. Whoever designed it made it turn at the right angle. Aesthetics, I guess. People, of course, took the direct route. The dirt path they made is 3 feet wide and a good 8 inches deep. It would take megatons of accumulated pressure to do that. Droves of starved people in striped uniform walking to a slow death over and over again. This whole town was built by slave workers, so were the rockets. This is a place of science and a place of oppression and a place of suffering. And it seems like a good spot to stop.
Yeah, no, that is an awesome line. Finish. And while I was live tweeting, I happened to find the novel on the website of Back of Phoenix, the indie sci-fi and fantasy bookshop here in Toronto. So anyone out in the audience who'd like to hear the rest of the story, which I imagine is all of you, you should get on that. Cool. All right, where are we adventuring?
So no, do we have our route?
We do. We are going, Sylvain will be happy about this, to the void of space.
Oh.
I know, it's wild. Okay, so through some adjustments to our boat that would be very long to explain, we had to rearrange the curtains and move the wine. Our ship sails through the stars. The soft, warm light of nebulae washes over the decks. Comets streak past in the darkness. But then something draws nearer. Not orbiting, but moving purposefully towards us.
A space whale.
A what?
You heard me. A space whale. 3 times as long as our ship, toothed and finned, its eyes like quasars, and its mighty flukes propelling it through the ever-expanding interstellar void, which everyone loves so much, apparently, it sings a hollow, aching song, and it wants something.
But what could a space whale want?
With their telepathic powers, Fred has informed me that the whale desires an adventure of their own. I've got it. We can give them a book recommendation.
That's right. Books are full of adventures.
So we do here. Drop your favorite book, tale of adventure, book in the chat, or tell us about it on Twitter. Feel free to take a selfie if you have a copy handy. Let's see if we can get to 10 books. I bet that will satisfy them.
And I'm very pleased to introduce our final reader tonight. L.D. Lewis is an award-winning SF&F writer and editor and serves as a founding creator, art director, and project manager for the World Fantasy Award-winning and Hugo Award-nominated Faya Literary Magazine. She also serves as grant administrator for the Speculative Literature Foundation, FayaCon director, and researcher for the LeVar Burton Reads podcast. She is the author of A Ruin of Shadows, Dancing Star Press 2018, and her published short fiction includes appearances in Faya, Podcastle, Strange Horizons, Anathema, Spec from the Margins, and Fireside Magazine, among others. She lives in Georgia with her coffee habit and an impressive Funko Pop collection. Visit her website, ldlewiswrites.com, and follow her on Twitter at @LTheVillain. Welcome. Oh no, Jen, we need some help with the unmuting.
No, it's just me. I just forget to hit buttons. It's not like I've been on Zoom for like literally a year and a half now and should know these things. But
it's always an adventure.
Indeed. Haha. Ha. See what you did there. Hi, I'm Elle. I'm everywhere, apparently. Tonight, I will be reading for you from a short story, Danger and the Artful Ginny, based on A Ruin of Shadows, which was mentioned in my rather extensive bio. That's always like awful to like sit through when other people say it, because I'm just like, okay, I do stuff, move on. And it will be appearing in its entirety in a forthcoming anthology entitled something that's on one of these tabs. Don't touch that. An anthology of parenthood in SFF. The Kickstarter is fully funded and we're moving forward. I don't have a release date for you yet, but I will, hopefully, at the end of this. I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes because I have a FayaCon September 16th through 19th planning meeting at in exactly 12 minutes. So let's get this. 5. The Ginny had found the child in the ashes of her mother's bones. She woke in the night to adjust the thick pelt covering her shoulders when the last of the fire's embers died out. She'd peered around sleepily in the dark for a moment or two before nestling her head against the folds of her mother's dress and drifting off again. Feeling curious, but also kind, the Ginny dropped from the trees overlooking the monastery ruins the little family had made their home and shed their falcon form. It would be easier to pick up kindling if they had opposable thumbs. They walked the forest lightly on bare human feet, collecting dry brush and fallen sticks. Then they returned to where the girl slept and made a little pile on top of the spent fire and set it alight. The girl stirred only slightly, turning over to reveal the bone dust matting her fuzzy plates. Jinn were not bound by time, and so had little concept of it in the best of circumstances. The child's were particularly strange. Her parents had been friends and victims of a particularly nasty curse, and so the artful Ginny had popped in from time to time to see how they were getting on. They struggled now to recall how much time had passed since he'd last seen her. A single-digit number of years, perhaps, or a matter of weeks. She was still a baby, her features still soft, hands balled into fists too small to be tasked with the business of surviving on her own. They would stay long enough to see she was kept warm and fed and uneaten by jungle beasts, making their course in the surrounding trees, and to see what form her magic took when it awakened within her. In the morning, she sat sleepily, patiently, waiting for her parents to return. The artful Jenny had kept the blaze going and piled osprey eggs and the fruit of the monastery's jacaranda trees atop a banana leaf near the hearth. She hadn't touched it yet. An hour on, 5 hours, who knows really, and Jenny watched her from the trees stand and stretch and study her mother and father's remains, a fine pale powder in the shape of bodies laid inside their clothes from yesterday. She heaved a sigh, deep and ancient beyond her few years, and looked around one last time before tucking into the fruit. Mornings went that way for a while, a patient waiting, sometimes smoked fish or nuggets of boar, citrus fruits from the nearby city. The Jinn watched from the trees as the girl went about her days dutifully, keeping neat her living space, washing in the pools of the monastery's garden, applying grubs and edible mushrooms from wherever she found them for snacks. There were a few instances of play, Jenny noticed. She was a very studious, disciplined child for one so young. They wondered if perhaps her parents had taught her about their inevitable fate in order to protect her. And she had accepted it in ways creatures 50 times her age could not. She never cried, not once. For some reason, Jenny was proud of her for that. Scroll too far. Some days she would chase giant butterflies, who knew what she planned to do with them once caught. And the Jinn would become a snake, hiding amid the foliage just on the edges of her. I'm sorry, I have cats in there. They're doing stuff. The Jinn would become a snake, hiding amid the foliage just on the edges of her hunting ground to watch her more closely. One afternoon, she tripped in her worn leather sandals and landed hard, face and elbows first on the stony ground. Jenny flinched, staying the limbs hiding in their serpentine skin from rushing to her side. Curiously, she stayed down for the length of a blink and then got up and kept running after the target she'd never let escape her sights. Only there was something strange about her now. Jenny squinted and slithered closer. Her skin was somehow darker, smoother, less skin really, and more a blackened candy shell. In minutes, it faded away, peeled back into nothing, and she was a sunny brown again, dewy with a hunter's sweat, and completely unfazed by any mishaps. Ha! Jenny celebrated. She wasn't hurt. It appeared by all indications the magic in her had determined she couldn't be. Sweet, invincible girl. Still, they need to do something about those shoes. Occasionally, her eyes would search the forest around her for whomever was responsible for the food, and the Jinn would smile to themselves, pleased once again to be a mystery. Each night, she would lie awake next to the fire and hum a broken tune, likely a lullaby that had become routine until she fell asleep. She made sure to leave fruit behind on the banana leaf for her invisible friend. One evening, when the forest was dusted pink with sunset, the girl looked up from a pair of wooden dolls she'd gotten bored with to exactly where the Jenny was perched as a crow. She looked them dead in the eye, arms crossed over her tiny chest, and huffed, apparently annoyed. "Are you hungry?" she called. The Jinn cocked an eyebrow. This was unexpected. "No, pet, it's for you," they replied. The girl frowned deeply. "My name isn't Pet." "Oh?" The Jinn ruffled their feathers. "What is it then?" "It's Danger." "It's a pretty name," the Jinn said with a chuckle. "So curious. Do you know who I am?" The little Danger shrugged. "I know sometimes you're a bird, sometimes you're a wolf, and sometimes you're a snake. Your eyes are always two colors and you bring me food and build my fire. But if you're going to stay, you can't spy. It's creepy." "Fair enough," the Jinn admitted. They fluttered down from the branch and landed as a young person with whiskey brown skin and a shade lighter than her own, common locks for hair and a golden blue eye. "The artful Jinn at your service." They bowed slightly, and the amusement never left the lifted corners of their mouth. Danger shook her head, the little mistress of her own crumbled castle. "Too much. Can I call you Jenny?" "It's a bit like naming a dog Dog." But it is a dog, she insisted. The Djinn laughed richly and took a seat opposite her around the fire. You're very clever. Thank you. Ginny it is then, they declared, biting into a piece of fruit. But don't tell anyone else to call me that. All right. It pleased Ginny greatly to see her smile. 8. Ginny was older in many ways than the concept of time itself. Their exploits and meddlings were famed through numerous worlds and attributed to more titles and brands of beings than there were, frankly, reasonable. Humans tended to deify. The Djinn preferred to exist. They liked humans, for a time at least, and had even called some of them friends. Largely, though, their lives were too short, too fraught, and too small to be of any significance beyond the occasional mischief. So why they were drawn to be by Danger's side, to watch her and help her grow, was a mystery for the ages. Ginny learned to celebrate her born days, and on her 8th, they had a plan. Danger needed to experience society. It was time to teach her things about civilization and about people, but far too risky to have her move among them with a power valuable enough to be exploited if it was observed. That day, Ginny spotted a lone merchant on the forest road with a cart of, well, they weren't sure. But whatever it was, jingled beneath the brown tarp in a familiar, perhaps expensive way. They flew back to the monastery where Danger was animated, thrusting one of her more refined homemade spears at a column of stone she named Rocky. Psst, Ginny hissed excitedly. I have a surprise for you. Where? Danger asked, scanning the area for something new. I don't see anything. It's up the road a ways. And there's a bit of work attached, but I don't want you to view it as work. See it as an opportunity. Danger's eyes sparkled. Opportunity had been the sort of thing the heroes of her stories had seized, her parents included. She nodded with a determined expression and followed Ginny quickly through the forest's ground cover and into a ditch just off a set of crossed roads. The tinkling of the cart could be heard in the distance. Ginny pushed back the broad leaves of an alocasia plant, to give Danger a look at their target. There she is. Sweet old girl, but certainly up to something, Ginny said. You know her? Danger raised an eyebrow. Remember the merchant from the story of Eve, the gun seller who brought down the East's 2 greatest states, all to date the prince to put into power by their downfall? That's the most diabolical merchant of the last 200 years? Kind of, Ginny waved off quickly. Now, what have I taught you? Be courteous, but be quick. Leave no reason or chance to suspect, she recited. Good girl, Ginny smiled, plucking bits of forest out of Danger's hair and straightening her rumpled blue shift. They hadn't been this excited about a simple grab in eons. Now I'll lead and keep her chatting. You find something on the cart you like, and there we are. Field experience and a born day present you will not only have earned, but pick yourself. All set? In the story, the merchant of Ede had a mustache. Danger frowned. No time, off we go. Ginny pulled her out of the brush and onto a cross street just as the woman wheeled her cart into the intersection. The pair made as if I lost my thought. No. The pair made as if they'd been taking a leisurely stroll, the girl putting on a particularly good show for her first time. Good day, good merchant, Ginny called with a friendly wave. Danger mimicked them. The woman's face scrunched in the forced smile of her profession, disappearing her eyes into a shroud of brown wrinkles. Hola, oi, she called back. Off to Citadella? I am. Am I close? My feet are killing me, she replied. So very close. You'll be resting soon. Can I ask what you're selling? The old woman stopped. Festival masks. Did you hear that? Ginny looked at Danger with feigned excitement, and Ginny looked back like they'd lost their mind. Festival masks. We're in the market. Old ones got trampled in the parade at the feast day of Armin. Feast day of Armin was last week, Danger muttered. The other Armin then, Ginny replied. Can we potentially lighten your load a bit, good woman? Take a seat and give us a peek at your wares. Come visit my stall in the city when you're ready. I don't have time today and your child there looks unkempt. Ginny and Danger exchanged offended glances. Sure, they hadn't quite figured out her hair, and the tunic she wore was a little overlarge, but how dare anyone call attention to either of those things? No matter. It was clear kindness wasn't going to get them far. Danger read the read the change and tapped on their face and covertly nodded her understanding or approval. Jenny wasn't sure which. And I will stop there because that's a little over 10 minutes.
Oh, thank you so much. I love the nuance in the relationship between those two. I feel like the whole time I was just going, but the two of them.
I know.
Right,
And
right.
if you've read A Rune of Shadows, you know that they have a much, they have a lot more adventures, but this is essentially where it starts.
Oh.
I hope that it's not too niche for people who haven't read it, but if you haven't, you should, and also read this when it comes out and support that anthology.
Indeed, you should. And we have links in all of the places, yes. By which I mean YouTube chat and the Twitters. Thank you so much. And I know we're getting close to the end of the night. So how many books did we come up with for the Space Whale?
Oh, a grand total of 13 between Twitter and the chat. The Space Whale is delighted. This is exactly what they were looking for.
Yay! I guess we can go home with a job well done.
Oh, our adventure is not finished yet. The Space Whale leads our ship a little further on. A little further until we see something familiar. Yes, that's our destination.
The destination is coming. It's coming.
Oh,
it's suspense.
Almost there.
It was there now. That's a little meta. There we go. What's that?
Oh. Oh my God,
it looks
so
really familiar. Wait, it's Glad Day.
Oh, it feels so far away.
Sure is.
Still.
It's the Glad Day bookshop.
It does feel far away. That's our regular home. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes adventures are actually really, really difficult. They can be uncomfortable and scary, and sometimes it feels like they'll never end.
But they do. Every story reaches its end eventually, even the scary ones. And an important thing about adventures is that you don't have to go on them alone. We're all on this road together for as long as it takes. So if you can, though, please support Glad Day, Baka Phoenix, and indie bookstores in your area. And as always, be kind to each other. Now we need to get out. Wait, there we go. Chaos. I'm good now.
Okay, I'm going to put it on gallery view so everybody can wave goodbye. Until next time, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Ephemera Series, and please subscribe to this YouTube page. We'd like to thank the Toronto Arts Council and the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America for their funding assistance.
We'd also like to thank our fabulous readers, Darcie Little Badger, Sylvain Neuvel, and L.D. Lewis, and performer Lynn Sargent, as well as our composer Alex White, our friends and families, and you. Thank you for staying with us, as always. We will see you on May 19th, right here on YouTube.